welcome back to the channel. It's Andy, aka the Flying Yeti, and in today's video I was inspired to make this after stumbling across on Track Addicts, which is a Facebook group. There was a YouTuber called Mostly Motorbikes, so thanks for your inspiration for me doing this video, and a nice channel. Keep up the good work, by the way, if you happen to see this video. So he was saying about he might give up riding on the road in favour of riding on the track. So I thought, well, I'll give my 2 pennies worth for what it's worth. So I've been riding on the track on and off since when? 2000 and, I'm saying about 2004-ish. Around about 2004, on and off. So I've done quite a few track days over the years, including Euro trips to sort of Spain and Portugal. So I've also been riding on the road since when? 1981. Yeah, so not consistently, admittedly. There was times when I only had a car and couldn't afford a car and a motorbike, that sort of thing. So I had a few years where I didn't ride, but pretty much on and off over the last however long that is, 30 odd years, 40 years, I don't bloody know, the one 40 years probably. So I suppose it makes me semi-qualified to put me 2 pennies worth in. So if that's something you're interested in hearing, then please consider subscribing. I think you have to say that on these YouTube channels, don't you? Please consider subscribing and leave a comment below. Any questions or queries, or if you think I'm being a dick, then thumbs up, thumb down, nice comment, horrible comment. I think they all count towards the YouTube algorithms. So back in 2012, I bought my Big Bang R1, which was probably 6 months old at the time. And the idea of buying the Big Bang R1 was it was going to be purely a road bike, which I was going to do the occasional track day on. I couldn't afford a track bike and a road bike, so that was kind of like a bit of both, I suppose, rolled into one. And that's what I'd done. Rode the R1 on the track probably 3, 4, 5 times a year, and it started off like that, and then it got to more and more track days, less and less road riding. I don't know why. It wasn't like a conscious decision, oh, I want to ride on the track, I don't want to ride on the road. It's just that when I'd done a track day, I was kind of like biked out. It's almost fitting in like a week's worth of road riding compressed into one day at a racetrack. I get off the bike and the next bloody 2 or 3 days, I'm feeling fatigued, all my muscles are aching, etc, etc, and I think, oh god, the last thing I want to do now is go on a bloody motorbike. I'm biked out, maxed out on the bike. So it kind of like progressed to doing more and more track, less and less road, and then the people that I was hanging around with are more sort of race orientated type people. So I ended up buying a few bits for the bike. Suspension was the first thing that got done. Thought I'd go bling and go Öhlins suspension front and rear, and then I'd done a little bit on the brakes, nothing too major. I'd done Goodrich braided hoses, and I had a Brembo master cylinder, and I changed the brake pads to sort of more race orientated ESB pads. And then I had a Yossi decap pipe, quick shifter, power commander, my BST carbon wheels, and then it went race fairing after that. So it kind of just like morphed into a track bike, and before I know it, I'm like, I don't ride on the road anymore. How come I don't ride on the road anymore? So as I say, it just kind of snuck up on me, rather expensively, I must hasten to add. Now, as much as I love track days, I kind of like, over the last few years, I could have had a daytime MOT on the R1. So I'm thinking, well, I've got 2 sets of wheels, so I can put some road rubber on 1 set of wheels, get a daytime MOT, insure it for the road, tax it, blah blah blah, go out on the road. So you think, oh, best of both worlds then. If I fancy a Sunday afternoon little blat, then I can just take it out of the garage and go for a blat on a Sunday afternoon. But I never kind of done that. I think the main reason I didn't do that is because I'm thinking of the negatives, the downsides of a daytime MOT. Now, for anyone that doesn't know, a daytime MOT, you have no lights on your bike at all. No lights at all. So when I say no lights, that's obviously no front and rear light, that's no indicators, and no brake light. So indicators, brake lights, I'm kind of thinking I can foresee problems going around roundabouts. I like to indicate. I don't want cars pull out on you anyway now and then on a motorbike, so I'm increasing the odds of a car pulling out on me by not having indicators. And we all know what it's like. You can do the old-fashioned hand signals, but when you're tipping into a roundabout and you've got to do your hand signal pretty much all the way around, if you're going all the way around the roundabout, you've got to do the hand signal pretty much all the way around. It's not so bad. I want to pull out, I'll put the hand signal to go right, but even you do that, and it's like as soon as you take your hand off the throttle, the bike like that as your indicator to turn right. So I'm just foreseeing ball ache and problems and increased risk of me getting punted off by a car. And also the same applies to no brake light. I'm just going to get rear-ended, aren't I? It's not going to end well. So I kind of shelved that idea, thinking, oh, I might do. I suppose I could put a brake light on it afterwards and just wire it into the front or rear brake or whatever you have to do. So I'm thinking I could get round that, just take it off for the MOT and then put it back on again. So there are ways and means, I suppose, but that's the score with the daytime MOT. So I didn't ride on the road for 2 or 3 years, probably 3 years, until I bought this, the GS. And everyone, when I bought the GS, not everyone, but a lot of people saying, oh golly, you got an old man's bike. I'm like, hello, have you seen me? I'm actually, I know I act very immature for my age, but I am actually 55, so how old would you like me to be before I can ride an old man's bike? You know, 70, I'd say. So I'm kind of pleased with the GS, as you may or may not be aware. I think it does everything that I want it to do. Again, riding the R1 on the road, especially at my age, and I'm 6'1", I'm not the smallest person in the world, so with every passing year you get an extra twinge or an ache, and I can't feel my hands because the pressure's leaning onto the bars, makes your hands numb, knees are wrapped around my ears, so oh god, you do about 10 miles and you're like, oh, I need to get off. So this GS does pretty much everything I want it to do on the road. You can still go at a reasonable pace. It's not a sports bike. It's never ever going to be a sports bike. It's a bit of a Swiss Army knife, I suppose, like a lot of people term it. Does a little bit of everything. But sitting along this boring M1, which I'm doing at the moment, I'd sooner be sat on here than sat on the R1. So I've kind of got the best of both worlds. If I want to go out for a blat, I can go out on a comfy blat on the road whenever I like on the GS. If I fancy a track day, then I wheel the R1 out, do a track day. Now, on the downsides of doing a track day, if you're thinking to yourself, yeah, I can see why mostly motorbikes is saying you might not ride on the road. Most people that just ride on the track say, oh no, it's crap on the road, you can't go anywhere because of this traffic everywhere. Fair point. And even if you do go mad on the road to stretch the bike's legs, you know, the speed of modern sports bikes, well, modern any bikes really, with a decent size engine, you're gonna kill yourself, or you're gonna lose your license or end up in prison for doing 150 mile an hour in a 30 or whatever. You know what I mean? It's again, there's a lot of negatives. But when you sack off the road riding, you need a reasonable amount of money. So, for argument's sake, my local track's actually Silverstone, but my next local track is probably Donington Park. Now Donington Park this year for a full day is £195. Now if you're doing the odd track day here and there, the £195, you think, well, okay, yeah, it's 195 quid, still quite a lot of money unless you're rich, but you can kind of justify it out of your expenditure. But if you like riding motorbikes and you don't ride on the road anymore, and you think to yourself, how often would I realistically want to go out on my motorbike? And if that's, I don't know, every sunny Sunday, so it's not going to be sunny Sunday every week, I appreciate that. So let's say twice a month, because it's going to rain the other 2 Sundays, isn't it? Because we're in England. So that's the best part of 400 quid a month to ride twice. So you can ride twice for £400, and don't forget you've now got a track bike, not a road bike. So you need to get that bike to for said track. You can't ride it there, so you need a van. You may already have a van, you may not. So that's another thing you've got to think about, transportation. And inevitably, when you start going quicker on the track, you will find that your what was really sticky road rubber is just not cutting it anymore. So you end up going down the inevitable path of getting slicks, which I really rate the Bridgestone VO2s. They're kind of my favourite slicks at the moment. Now the Bridgestone VO2, which way am I going? I'll go that way actually. The Bridgestone VO2s, very sticky. They inspire confidence on the track. You get loads and loads of grit, more grit than I could ever get the most of, because I'm Joe Average on a bike, like I am with most things in life. So in your head you've got all this grip that you don't really use unless you're really quick, and a set of Bridgestone VO2s at the last count, front and rear, was about 300 quid. I can remember the rear was about, I think it was £205 to buy the tyre, then you've got to have it fitted. So I don't know, 220 say. So 220 quid for a rear tyre. Now I'm kind of like mid to lower end of the fast group, I would say, depending on who turns up. This year I'm bloody even further down, because since there's been no racing, it seems like every racer in the UK wants to do a track day. So it's more like a BSB grid when you go in the fast group. But besides all that, I can get usually on the VO2s about 4 days on a rear tyre. Now a lot of lads are getting 1 or 2 days out of a rear tyre. So bear in mind that rear tyre is 220 quid and I'm getting 4 days out of it. So that's 50 odd quid a day for the rear tyre. And normally with every second rear I'll replace the front as well. So you've got all these things into consideration. So your best part of 200 quid minus a fiver for a track day at Donington, and then another 50 quid, that's just for the rear. So there's for the rear rubber if you was to use slicks. So that's basically 250 quid for track day and rear rubber. That's not even counting the front. And then you got like 30 quid of fuel. You've got to get to Donington and back. So fuel, depending where you live. Track days are pretty much always in the week. So day off work. You might be self-employed, so that's another consideration. You might not be able to book a holiday. So it's over £300 for the day. So you do that twice a month, like I said, every other weekend, say. Well, not a weekend, it's a weekday. So you do it. Say you do 2 a month. That's 600 quid. That's 600 quid a month. Don't forget you got to get the van. So if you can justify 600 quid a month, then that's great. I mean, I can't personally justify that amount of money. That's why I chose to buy this GS for the road, because sometimes I just fancy, like I am now, I think, oh, it's Sunday afternoon, I'll just watch MotoGP. Alright, yeah, I've been out this morning for breakfast to a bike cafe, but I think I'm just going to go out for a couple of hours on the bike. Nothing heroic, just a little bamble about, as you do. But you can just do that. If the weather's nice, you've got nothing to do, you can just wheel the bike up the garage, go for a ride, put it back in, sit on the sofa. Great, happy days. But you can't do that with a track day. Another downside, which I would have to say, it's even worse this year for the obvious, but booking a track day is a bit of a nightmare at the moment. Not because the booking, how you book it is a nightmare, because it's not, but it's just that everybody wants to do track days. So as soon as the dates are out for whatever track day company you choose, then inevitably they get booked up really, really quickly. So stay there, please. So if you think to yourself, I might do that Donington track day next month, I'll just see how work goes. I'm going to ask my boss if I can get the day off or not. By the time you've done all that and you've earned brownie points to your missus, the track day is fully booked and you can't go on anyway. And then you think, oh God, you've got to book so much in advance, and ideally you want to block book it. So you say to yourself, okay, I want to do track days July, June, July, August, September. So you need to be booking them all in advance. So that's kind of like your downsides of doing a track day. Yes, it's great. I understand that people just want to do that, and if you just want to ride on the track and you're not interested in the ride, then that's fair play. It's down to what you want to do as an individual, really, where you get your kicks. I mean, to me, a track day is like what? It's like going to Alton Towers. You get your speed thrills. Oh my God, I'm nervous about going on this ride. You've got the ball ache of getting there. You've got the queuing. You've got the mad expense. And if you're into them hair-raising, terrifying rides, then fair play, because obviously a lot of people are. Otherwise, there wouldn't be Alton Towers. But do you want to go to Alton Towers every day? Well, I certainly wouldn't want to go to Alton Towers every day. So that's like your track day. Now, riding this on the road, to me, not an Alton Towers experience. It's more of a sitting on the sofa, eating ice cream, watching Netflix kind of experience. I like to do both. So, therefore, I suppose I've got the luxury of having this and my album for the track. So, best of both worlds, I suppose you want to call it like that. So anyway, that's my little 10 pennies worth, which I've seem to have stretched out into which seems like an eternity. So if you managed to get to the end of the video, then thank you very much. Again, please consider subscribing if you want me to say anything, particular topics or whatever, which you probably don't, but I've got to ask these things anyway, haven't I? Then please leave a comment below, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and on that note, I'll speak to you on the next time. Goodbye.